I'm violently sunburnt.
I see some red on your shoulders there.
So I kind of look like Where's Waldo? So I've got red and white stripes. I've got where my bikini bottoms were, a massive fucking red strip of death, a white strip of comfort and safety, a red strip where my top was, and then red. So I looks like some kind of sad bandit. I had to send my husband a text message and I was like, I don't know if you're going to be able to take me seriously while I'm naked because I am aggressively sunburnt.
This is Total Babble. Total Babble. It's a show about music, pop culture, social media, movies, the internet, relationships, TV, whatever. Total Babble. The Total Babble Podcast.
Well, hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. That's Emily. I am Stu, the UK's sexiest man. That's what I'm going with now. That is what I've decided. That's what's going on with me because last week we talked about Jeremy Clarkson, that British guy named the UK's sexiest man. And I try not to be full of myself, but even just being objective, I'm at least better looking and sexier than Jeremy Clarkson, I think. And you don't even have to weigh in because I realize for you, there's no good answer in that. But I think just me objectively, I can make the assertion that I am sexier than Jeremy Clarkson. Therefore, I can make the next jump that says, I am the UK's sexiest man. Welcome to the show. Yeah.
Yeah. The only question I have is, have you ever been to the UK, Stu?
No, but I'm still their sexiest man.
That is uniquely American of you. Yeah. Next up, the World Series of Sexiest Men. Americans only. Americans only.
It's just cultural imperialization, I guess. What is that we do where we imperialistically go into countries and take them over? I'm just doing that with my looks.
I mean, to be fair, that is a very British thing to do.
Yeah.
Our forefathers.
It's true. It goes both ways now, I guess. They did it to us, and now we do it to other people, so it all works out.
Yeah. The circle of life.
All right. I know you are, but what am I? And by the way, if you want to declare somebody that you're better looking than, feel free. It's what we can do here on the show.
Yeah, no.
Like, who's the UK's sexiest female? Maybe it's like Dame... what's her name or something, some old lady, and you could be way better than her, and we could rule the land, and then we could use that as a sanctuary for if this country goes to hell, we could go to the UK.
No, there are so many wonderful, attractive women. I would never dare. I think, there's a magazine called FHM. I don't know if you get it here in the United States, but they have the 100 sexiest women's list and the most eligible bachelorettes. But the people are amazing. So in recent history, name some people who you think might have been on the list.
Kate Beckinsale, the easy, obvious go-to, if we're talking UK.
She would be good.
Elizabeth Hurley. Elizabeth Hurley.
Oh, Elizabeth Hurley. I think she was on the list in yesteryear. You'd be pleased to know that your girlfriend Margot Robbie was actually on the list in 2015. In 2017, which is the one that I've just happened to pull up, Margot Robbie is on it.
But a little something for you, something I need to interject here. I'm not sure if you're aware, Emily. She's Australian.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I thought this was the UK list.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
They need to get it. They don't know. They don't know who Australians and UK people are.
I think looking at the list, it's just a UK magazine.
Okay.
And it's all of the women because I tell you who is on the list and definitely not British. Beyonce and Jennifer Lawrence and Gal Gadot or whatever. She's Israeli, I think.
Yeah, she is.
So, I mean...
And these lists, they always have stupid, controversial numbers. They always put somebody stupid in there so that you'll get pissed off and talk about it. Like there's a recent list of the greatest guitar players in the world.
Right.
And whoever put it out recently had Taylor Swift on there. Shut the fuck up. I like Taylor Swift, but she's not one of the greatest guitar players of all time. You put that on there so that people would get pissed and talk about you.
Yeah, I don't think that she's one of the greatest guitar players of all time.
No.
Interestingly, though, somebody was like, oh, I'm going to go watch this guy who's going to do like John Mayer covers. And I was like, cool. He better be a really good guitarist because surprisingly, John Mayer, very good guitarist.
Didn't he play with the Grateful Dead on tour or something for a long time? And people that are into all that stuff say that he's really good. And I think I had a friend that auditioned for his band and said he was a really good guy and really good. It just wasn't quite the right fit. And yeah, I can respect him good enough. I guess he's a little bit poppy for me, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, he's a little bit poppy. He's a little bit country.
He's a little bit rock and roll. Do
He's
you remember
a
Donnie and Marie in the 70s? I remember being like a 5-year-old kid watching Donnie and Marie. He's a little bit country and she's a little bit rock and roll. I think it was the other way. She was the wimpy country one. So there's that part of it. I'm the UK's sexiest man. And also, just wrapping up last week, I found out that Drea De Matteo is crazy and nearly a MAGA person. So now I find her completely unattractive. I've made that jump.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's disappointing when you find out the hot chick is crazy in a bad way. Crazy in a good way you want. Crazy in a bad way you don't want.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. But yeah, I'm not even going to weigh into the whole... There's no way that I would ever make it on one of those lists. I have other talents, and it's not being smoking hot. I have a face for radio. I have a face for radio.
No, you don't. To stop the self-deprecating bullshit, I tell people that you look like Rose Byrne, and you look very much like Rose Byrne, and then all your other talents we are aware of. Take a compliment. Have that.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm still working on my knife skills, but...
All right. Well, that'll be a plus with the kids.
Definitely.
What's happening with you this week? Anything special to talk about?
Well, I realized earlier this week that I used to be a coffee drinker, and now I've become a full-blown caffeine user. Oh. And I don't think it's good.
I think it's great. I'm right there with you. I think it's the best thing ever.
I've consumed way too many caffeine-related beverages, and it is impacting on my sleep and stuff, but I am hooked. It makes me a better person. I wake up, I have black coffee. Then not too far after that, I'll have an energy drink. And then I wonder why I can't sleep.
Do you drink the coffee all day?
No.
Okay. Just in the morning to get you going.
Yes, but I used to drink coffee all day until I moved over to Celsius energy drinks, which have more than 200 milligrams of caffeine.
So you kind of drink coffee all day. It's just not called coffee.
No, I drink coffee, and then I have an energy drink, and then I hear colors all day. And then I get freaked out in the afternoon. Like when I start to crash, I start to get paranoid and scared about things. And then I'm laying in bed at night going, geez, I can't go to sleep. I wonder why. And then I think, oh God, maybe it's because I've had, enough caffeine to kill a small animal.
There's caffeine in that. Isn't there also lots of other stuff in there that is stimulants? And could that be part of it? I don't want to blame the caffeine is what I'm thinking.
I mean, definitely.
There's guana and sugar and all that weird stuff that's in there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm too scared to read the ingredients list.
So just keep drinking it. That's the sane thing to do.
Exactly. I mean, some people snort Coke.
Yeah.
Right? I'm mainlining that shit.
I drink my own cold brewed coffee. I got these things from Amazon that have the big filter thing in the middle. It's mesh. You put all the coffee in there, and then you dump the water in, and it's like letting tea soak for 2 days. And then you get coffee that's so deep and rich you can't see through it. And then you pull the filter out, and you drink that in the morning with some almond and coconut milk. Oh, it's so good. And that is energizing and wonderful. I just had some, can you tell?
That's so great. It sounds delicious.
Yeah.
One year, because my husband is so incredibly difficult to buy for, I purchased from Growler Works these cold brew coffee makers, and it's similar to that. I think he only ever used them once, and now they're rotting in the garage somewhere. But primo. I don't know what it is. I like a hot drink, though. Even in the depths of summer, hot drink. I was so freaked out by the fact that when I moved to the United States, I'd go to a cafe and people would be ordering iced Americanos. What?
Yeah.
What? Coffee's hot.
For a lot of people, it's more like a dessert, the coffee. They get the coffee dessert, and it's like, I don't need to do that. I just need to have some good energy.
Right, well, that's Starbucks. That's the other things. Like, people are in front of me in line, or ordering their orange mocha choco fucking frappuccino, 3 half pumps of caramel and extra snow cone foam, and I'm thinking to myself, do you like coffee or do you just like fucking syrup? Because there are easier ways to deliver this syrup. Just take the top off some maple syrup or something else in the morning. Just squirt chocolate syrup directly into your gullet at 9 a.m. It sounds weird when you do it like that, but they'll drink that in a coffee, but they won't have like ice cream and chocolate sauce for breakfast because that's not a breakfast food, but they'll definitely have whatever the fuck that is in their Starbucks cup. And I haven't assimilated yet.
Yeah, coffee gives them the excuse to have dessert. It's like, I'm having my coffee. No, you're having dessert. You just don't want to call it dessert. So, okay, go ahead. Just call it what it is.
Yeah, and no shame, no shade, nothing like that. I mean, power to them. Love that for them.
If you wake up with dessert, that's fine. Just call it what it is. That's all. Yep. So in my life, the squirrels are coming to get me. I think my reputation got out with Dave. I haven't seen Dave around for a while. I saw a squashed squirrel in the road the other day. I was afraid it might be Dave, but I didn't go to investigate. And now there's 2 new squirrels that are running around. And I know they're not Dave because I opened the door to say hi and they run off. And I've given them almonds a couple times, but now they know there will be almonds. And now when the back patio door is open, but the screen closed, and I'm making lunch or something, they get very ballsy and they try to break into the house. They are climbing up the screen. I look out and I see the silhouette of a squirrel climbing up the screen, and they're gnawing at the screen trying to get in because they know like I'm a food source. So they're trying to work that out. So I need to stop feeding them, and it would be great to have squirrel pets, but I think I'm realizing as a human being, I cannot have squirrel pets, and I don't think that's going to work out. And like Dave would never pull this shit. Dave knows. Dave and I had a bond and an understanding. These squirrels just don't get it these days. You hear it mentioned all the time. These squirrels today, they just don't get it.
They just don't get it. It's interesting that different squirrels have different personalities because I feel like they're just rodents. But it's true. They
well,
do.
You're right.
Yeah.
They're just rodents.
Yeah, just nameless, faceless, weirdo rodents. But sounds like they do actually have different little personalities. You should spray paint them different colors. And then you'll know if it's Dave or not, because if he doesn't have a purple mohawk, not Dave.
When you said that, I was envisioning a special system that I would need to create in order to spray paint them. I would get an overhead thing and have to put an almond down to lure them in. And then when one came in to eat the almond, I would click the button and that would engage the spray paint. And then I would have purple squirrel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So something to look forward to. Maybe I'll give that a try. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, get a cat trap.
There you go. And then it'll be all pissed off and jamming around the cage when I go to pick it up. And I'll say, no, I'm just trying to be friendly, but it won't know because it's a dumb squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. And then after you spray it, it'll know that you're a liar. And then it'll never come back.
There you go. Don't go over there. They'll spray paint you. They'll make you a different color. See this big yellow thing on my head? That's because of Stu.
Yeah.
I had a weird thought the other day. I have these quick thoughts for the show that come up, and I feel like we should ask them and address them. Do porta potties in other countries have bidets? Because in other countries, they think you're a sick pig if you're using toilet paper. And then if you think, okay, they must have porta potties in other countries like Japan, where the bidet is the norm, and I think it's a good norm, how do they handle porta potties? Do you get in there? Is there water going up in the porta potty? This is what I would like to find out.
Which country?
I think Japan, because Japan, from what I understand, they have this culture of bidets, and the Toto toilet, I think, was started in Japan with the bidet. And like, I think they don't even use toilet paper. They just have the bidet that squirts warm water and washes you off, and then does a nice drying thing, and they think we're pig people for using toilet paper. So then you think, okay, if there's construction workers, how do they handle that? How do they go in there and do their business if they need to? Or maybe it's just the Japanese people don't crap. I don't think that's the case, but it could be.
So I can help with this question.
Okay, yeah.
Japanese porta potties are squat toilets.
So you squat to... Okay.
Correct. So in a lot of Asian countries, say Thailand, I'll use Thailand as an example, they do have some Western style toilets, but most of these cultures, the toilets are squat toilets, and specifically in Japan, the porta potties are squat toilets.
So you say squat toilet, and I would assume that means that you squat, but then what
Correct.
happens on the back end? Is there toilet paper? Is there water? How is that handled?
Often it's water. And so I think it's called, like in the Philippines, is it called a tubo? Man, I'm
Yes, it is. It's
butchering
called a tubo. It is.
Okay.
It's a tubo. I don't know.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
I'm just making
And
shit
there's
up.
A bucket of water, and you have a cup. It's similar in a bunch of different countries, or there's like a hose or something.
Huh.
But yeah, there's like a little water area, and it's not necessarily all entirely automated. It's quite a manual process.
And I'm trying to envision how you would use a cup, but I guess that means it's kind of a bidet, and I get the hose factor. And do they have paper in there at all? Are they non-paper?
Nope.
Okay. See, to me, that kind of makes sense. I feel like we are doing crapping wrong in this country, and we ought to be like the Japanese and have water and a nice blow dry, and then we would be cleaner people. I think we're pig people, kind of. That's what I'm saying.
Well, and when there is paper, you often don't put it down the toilet. You put it in a trash can that's
Yeah.
in the stall.
Whose job is it to clean that up?
Well, I think that if everyone's not using the paper in the same way that you would here, it's less of a problem. If you're using it to dry versus whatever, it's a different situation.
Application is the issue. All right. Solve that one. These are the things that we progress with on the show. It's been a learning week already. And then I have this question. What is a tit's worth?
Isn't it a bird?
No. Actually, unofficial producer Scott sent this to me. If you go to the secret very bottom part of your outline, you will see that there's a baseball player. His name is Titsworth. And he's claiming the name Titsworth. I guess that is his name. But then on his jersey for his numbers, he has 2 double zeros. There's 2 big zeros on there, and that can't be accidental. That has to be on purpose, and I just have to think that they said, oh, we're going to go with this because it's 2 zeros and my name is Titsworth. Ha, ha, ha. Part of me thinks it's annoyingly dude bro, and part of me thinks, okay, I enjoy the fact that they wanted to be a little bit edgy and they got away with it and nobody has complained, and he's just going through life with a name like Titsworth. That is what I'm thinking about this.
So he's a baseball player and he plays for the Tigers?
Yeah, some kind of Tigers or something. You know, I'm a sports expert.
Right.
Yeah.
And so his actual name is Titsworth, and he's dude broed it to 00.
Double zeros. Is that acceptable in your eyes?
I think it's pretty funny.
I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But
His name is
you know,
Drew. He's from a
Yeah.
long line of Titsworths, apparently.
Yeah. Drew Titsworth. I like it. 5 stars.
right.
Do recommend. I mean, I want to go see the Savannah Bananas.
Savannah Bananas, that's a team?
Yeah, it's a team. Look them up
Wow.
on the internet. It's like a party sort of joke baseball situation. Not in the major leagues, but
Like kind
A
of
good
double A sub baseball, that kind of thing? But are they a real team?
they're a real team and they play against other teams, but they also do choreographed dances and stunts and all sorts of crazy shit. And it's not just them, it's a whole bunch of other ones. They're just the ones that would be the closest to where I live.
I like the fact that they said, hey, we're going to get a baseball team. We're in Savannah. What do we call it? Oh, I don't know. Savannah Bananas. We're going with that just because of the way it sounds. And that's kind of fun. I like it.
It is pretty fun, right? Mm-hmm. And they play against other teams. I don't know who it is, but they have a whole bunch of things. Anyway, I don't know enough about it. All I know is that I've seen some of their dances and thought that looks like a good time. And so I want to go to it. But that's as far as I've gotten.
I'm going to make a guess here, going to make a venture. Perhaps their logo is a banana.
Yeah, it is. Right. It's a banana with a baseball bat.
There you go. That's kind of what I would picture. They did the right thing there. Because if your logo is a tiger and you're the Savannah Bananas, it doesn't make any sense.
0 sense, yeah.
I saw some good TV this week, and I wanted to mention it to everybody. Jim Henson, Idea Man. Have you heard about this?
Well, I've heard of Jim Henson. Okay. I haven't heard of this documentary type situation.
Documentary directed by Ron Howard. And I don't know if you're aware, but Jim Henson did the voice of Kermit the Frog. Also, not a lot of people realize he created Sesame Street. Sesame Street was a show for kids. This is my new character, condescending, obvious voice guy that I'm going to be doing from time to time.
I see.
Kermit the Frog, Sesame Street.
All the Muppets.
Yeah, he did Muppets too. Great, inspirational is what I would call it. I am not like the biggest Muppet fan. I kind of knew of them growing up. I was never that into it. And I know that there are people that even now are really into it, but it's just a really cool rundown of his life and his story. And he was a guy that wanted to do really good things for the world and always did that at his own expense financially and at the expense of his family at some points. And they kind of portrayed this without being really syrupy and trite with it. They kind of just put it out there. And he had lots of success, but also lots of big failures. And he wasn't happy about them. But when those failures happened, he was just like, okay, well, that sucks. I'm going to move on to the next thing. And it's kind of a good portrayal of a person that you can look at and go, wow, they did good things and it wasn't always easy for them. And that was a person that I could emulate as another person. So great, cool story. And I advise everybody to check it out. I forget where I saw it, forgot where I downloaded it, but Jim Henson, Idea Man.
That's a great recommendation. I love that. Very highbrow, much better than anything I'm consuming right now.
I was going to ask what you're into lately. What are you watching? Anything?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. One is actually a show from Australia. So to get access to it, you'd have to jump through some hoops and
VPN.
find it on the internet. And it's called Colin from Accounts. The premise is essentially there's a guy named Gordon who's driving on his way to work one day. He owns a brewery and he sees a girl who happens to be a doctor and she's crossing the street. They have a moment. She flashes her tits at him and then he accidentally runs over a dog. And then,
of course.
Okay. And so
that hack premise again.
That hack premise. And so then this results in them taking the dog to a vet and hilarity ensues. And it's the story of the intricacies of their relationship as it blossoms in the friend group and all of this sort of stuff as they go through. And it's really sweet. It's funny. And I love it. But
the guy's name is Gordon, but it's called Colin?
Yes. Because the dog's name is Colin.
Oh, okay. But it's Colin from accounting?
Yes. And I mean, this is a spoiler. So spoiler alerts, but I have to explain it to you now. So the name doesn't make sense for most of the season, but they call Colin, the dog Colin, in the first episode. So you get a sense for, okay, it's Colin, and it makes sense. And so then over time, as Ashley, the doctor, and Gordon start to get closer and become friends and all of this kind of stuff, she one day decides to help him out in his business. He's having real trouble collecting money from people who owe him money. Like he sells beer to pubs and clubs and stuff aren't paying him. So Ashley makes up this alter ego who's a real hard ass who starts demanding money from people and making threats and signs it Colin from accounts. And it actually results in Gordon getting the shit beat out of him a couple of times from people who aren't too happy about Colin from accounts. And Colin from accounts doesn't actually exist. It's actually this woman, Ashley, playing the role of this dog in accounts. It sounds stupid. It's actually really, really sweet.
No, that sounds funny. That sounds very British in its setup and its intricacies. And it's like one of those British shows that I've watched from time to time, it sounds like.
Yeah, and it's funny and it feels real. I'm still into Acapulco, but we've got to wait for the next season to come out.
I don't even know what Acapulco is. That's it's like a drama?
Yeah, it's like a comedy drama, and it's the story of Maximo, who grows up in this small town where Las Colinas is like this big celebrity-laden hotel, and the story of how he and his life through growing up in there and working there, and how he rises to the top and how he becomes a billionaire. But he's telling the story to his nephew, and so all of the seasons are about the intricacies in the relationship and everything. It's super good. It's junk food, but it's sweet and fun.
All right. News stuff. Justin Timberlake. I guess he's bringing Boozy back.
Yeah.
That's all I've got on that one.
Who's driving you home? It's gonna be me.
Oh, there you go. Even better. I don't have a lot to say about that. DWI sucks. Don't do it. I just wanted to use that joke because I thought of it. That's all.
Everybody makes mistakes. And I saw the photo of him leaving the Slammer. He looked salty. I wonder who else was in the car with him. Do we know who was in the car with him while he was driving under the influence?
No, but now that you mentioned that, I'm picturing that shot that you're talking about, him leaving, and I realized they gave him special celebrity treatment because the handcuffs were in front. When you're a normal scumbag citizen, they make you go handcuffs in the back, and I'm realizing they must have said, oh, it's Justin Timberlake, handcuffs in the front. Fuck that.
Oh, is that true? I didn't know that.
I watched enough cops over my lifetime and enough videos now on YouTube to realize that that is the case. If you're a normal person, they'll put them in the back. If you're a delicate stripper or Justin Timberlake, they'll put them in the front.
When they arrest you, right? But what about when they're transferring you to court?
The same as far as I know.
Wow. Okay.
Because the front is a special classification. It's almost like, oh, you're not really a threat. So,
Love that.
All right, I found this and wanted to talk about it. I think this is from like a month ago or something, but then they replayed it on CBS News recently, and it's just a really cool story. There's this autistic kid that is making a difference just because he saw something and it's the right thing to do. And check this out. This is Guardrail Kid.
It started about a year ago when Mason Jones, who was 10 years old at the time, came across a video on YouTube about guardrails.
What was the main thing that you remember that really stuck with you?
Mainly it being unsafe.
The man behind that video, Steve Eimers,
on America's roadways,
who's been advocating for guardrail safety since his daughter Hannah was killed in a 2016 crash when a guardrail speared through her car.
allowing an innocent person to lose their life because you didn't make a repair, that's wrong. And we can push our government to be responsive.
Mason.
And that guy, though this happened a long time ago, you can tell as he's talking about this, is just right on the edge of still losing it because somebody didn't take care of a guardrail and it speared through the car his daughter was in and killed her. So he's dealing with that. And then Mason, this autistic kid, saw his story and reacted to it.
Took that challenge to the next level.
There's not supposed to be a bolt at this third post.
And then some.
There were two that were loose like that, but PennDOT fixed the other one.
He's loosening a nut that should be tightened down.
They're not supposed to be loose.
No, not at all.
Mason and his mom took me on a walk near their home in Chester County, PA. They told me they do this a lot, inspecting guardrails.
So I've reported this one over 5 times. You can actually see some of the previous marking.
Over the last year, Mason says he's reported dozens of guardrails to PennDOT.
I'll bug them till they fix it.
Last month, a manager with PennDOT emailed Mason asking him to send guardrail concerns directly to him, bypassing PennDOT's customer care site.
The kid knows what he's talking about. Down to little things. Little things mean a lot. If a bolt is not in place, if a bearing plate is upside down, everything he's been pointing out has been pretty legit.
So how does Mason know what makes a guardrail hazardous?
He would ask about guardrails, and I'd say, okay, go take this course.
And you took those trainings?
Yes, all 3 of them.
He took like the whole guardrail course on safety, and this is a kid that he's autistic, but you look at him and you wouldn't know it. But when you talk to him, you get the sense that he just operates at a different frequency. He's just operating right now at this very focused view of wanting to correct something that he saw that really affected him and make change and do the right thing, you know?
And you passed?
Yep.
So you're certified?
Yeah.
He's a certified
Hanging on his
kid
family's
inspector
fridge,
now.
certificates of completion from Road Systems, Inc., a manufacturing company. A VP with the company believes Mason is the youngest person to ever complete the training.
Why are you passionate about this?
To keep others from being killed.
I think it's awesome. I mean, I love that he's just who he is and he doesn't care, like, what anyone says.
Christine said her son was diagnosed with autism around age 3.
We view it here as just a different ability. It's not disability.
Would you consider Mason to be a help to you?
Huge help. The kid is spot on.
Using Google's satellite street view, Mason finds and reports concerning guardrails to departments of transportation all across the country.
So you have your own.
He was
map.
local. Now he's taking it national because even local wasn't good enough. He's now inspecting guardrails across the country remotely and passing on the findings because that's the right thing to do and to save lives.
Yes.
All these guardrails?
Yes.
Paving his own unique path.
Wow. How about that?
Isn't he awesome?
How about that?
Yes.
love it.
So he has the TikTok following, about 19,000 followers.
Okay.
And his mom told me he gets a lot of support on there. He's even taught some of these followers how to spot these guardrails, and then they have reported it to their state's Department of Transportation.
And that girl's father must be so appreciative.
Yeah, because, I mean, he is still on a crusade trying to make our roads safer.
I agree with Matt. The kid knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He sure
Spot on.
Good for Mom for encouraging
indeed.
that.
She thinks that he is actually going to invent a safer guardrail when he's older.
Let's do it.
I'm sure he will.
Yes.
Sky's the limit.
Remember the name.
And I'm just looking for a place to get out of this, but I also find the male anchor's voice very hypnotic. Oh, yeah, he's the greatest kid ever. Oh, I like it. Way to go, guardrail kid.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
And I know that this is wrong, but when they're saying, and the girl was killed by a guardrail, it speared through her car, one, that's terribly awful. But one thing that I think we should make clear is it's not like this guardrail just came at her like some sort of fighting spear from a primitive tribe. She had some kind of accident where she ran into the guardrail.
A valid point. I also think, though, that probably from the picture that they showed in the video, it looked like the guardrail had speared through the car, the edge of it, and that the edge was maybe out where it wasn't supposed to be. And it's not supposed to do that. So I think that was a factor. So, yeah, there's that part of it.
Yeah. Terrible. But love it for that kid. That's great. It sounds like he's doing a really great job.
I love the fact that he just decided that he was going to do what he's going to do because that is going to save lives, and seems like a great kid. And I've renamed him. I've given him a nickname. His new name is, because he's Guardrail Kid, I will call him Tenacious G.
I like that better.
And I think I'm going to try to contact him and say that he should be calling himself Tenacious G and have that kind of fun. So there's this. We, me or you, are not in one of the happiest places on earth. There's this new study that came out. Researchers with the Institute for Quality of Life, a London-based organization, recently released its Happy City Index. It's 250 of the happiest cities in the world. They analyzed various indicators that directly relate to the quality of life and the sense of happiness of its residents. So of the U.S. cities, there are only 2 in the top 50. Can you guess what either of those 2 might be?
I want to say it's something like, I don't know, like Colorado or something in Utah or something like that. I don't know, like Denver or something. Maybe somewhere in New York or something like that. I don't know.
It's weird. Of the U.S. cities that are on the list, the number 1 city, East L.A. You wouldn't think that would be the case, but East L.A. I'm joking.
I was going to say that.
You looked like you didn't want to believe me.
I was like, no, wrong. Can't be true.
The number 1 city of, and it's actually like number 38 or something, but the U.S. city that's up there is Minneapolis, Minnesota, which
that makes
is
sense
where
to me.
it's kind of a big city. You would think it would be a smaller city.
I am fortunate enough to know many people from that part of the world, and they are lovely. The people are so nice and so kind, such a great sense of community. I feel like if I was ever going to go and move and live somewhere else, it would be up that part of the world.
Have you been to Minneapolis? I've never even been there. Okay. To me,
you've been to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Oh, Twin Cities. That's what that is. There's Minneapolis and St. Paul. There's 2 of them, thus Twin Cities.
Exactly.
There you go. I always thought that maybe they were just happy because they lived in the same city as Prince. They're like, I'm from Prince's town just because of that, and now I'm happy I'm from Minneapolis. I could kind of do that. And then maybe they just go over to Paisley Park and hang out.
That would be cool. Yeah. I could see how that's a thing too. Yeah.
As a Prince fan, I could almost go and take a tour of that place. And to me, that seems super nerdy. And like I would almost be ashamed of it. But it's like I should be like, oh, who cares? It's this building where he made music and lived, but he's dead now. So who cares? But I would genuinely be interested in going to Paisley Park and taking a tour of that place. It seems big and grandiose and,
I mean, why wouldn't you? People go visit Graceland all the time.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not an Elvis guy.
Yeah, I don't see it as being any different.
All right. Point bunked. Got that one. I feel better about me now. So the number 1 actual city in the world, looking at this list, is...
somewhere Scandinavian in the world?
Aarhus, Denmark. Aarhus, Denmark. And then Zurich, Switzerland is on there. And I'm just looking for anything else that might be something we would know.
The Finns are all about it. Is Finland not on there?
Vienna, Austria. You're from Austria, aren't you?
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
Austrian.
Throw another shrimp on the barbie. Yep.
Minneapolis there. I'm looking for, Brisbane, Australia. That's on there. It's like number 40.
Really? That's my home. That's where I was born. That's my
there
hometown.
You go. You're of good stock. I got Japan, Boston, Massachusetts, that's on there. Other than that, almost nowhere in the United States. So it kind of tells you, hey, we need to get our shit together. We're not a happy place to live. And that's because of government and corruption and greed, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm surprised to see Brisbane on there. Like, I don't know who they've surveyed and how far afield they've gone. Like, they've probably kept it in like the 4,000 postcode. Like, only the rich people who live in the city. Because I tell you, you go not that far out of the city and it is cracktastic. And
is it like Aborigines and stuff there that are just living in hovels? Does that happen?
No.
I'm going for this because all I know of Aborigines is what I've seen in like Kate Bush videos. That's all I know about it. I'm uneducated.
So Indigenous Australians live all different types of places.
Are they kind of like the American Indians here?
I don't know if I'm qualified to make that assessment, but things I can say is that they were treated in a way that was very similar and terrible. Many of them were driven off their native lands and put into places where they weren't from, mixing tribes together, I guess, in ways that you would refer to as like reservations here. There was a lot of mistreatment, lots of women being raped by white settlers, and then they would then have children, and if the children appeared white or were leaning in that direction, they would take them away from their families and raise them in missions, trying to take their culture and basically make them white. They were largely wiped out, and you can still meet Aboriginal Australians if you go to their country, but it's hard now to find.
Well, yeah, that sounds like a really fair comparison to what we've done over here, except we didn't have prison camps. We just kind of relegated them to reservations and said, oh, we'll make it up to you. Go ahead and have casinos is kind of the way we solved it. And there we are.
You know, most people, if you go and visit Australia, it's unlikely that you would meet somebody that you would be able to recognize as being of Aboriginal descent.
Because they've been relegated and are that far out away from everything else. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
I will end with this. Elephants. Remember how elephants are like the best animals around?
Yep.
Well, there's a new study out. Researchers are finding that elephants have names. They've studied African elephants and determined that they identify with each other and have names and talk to each other with those names. And their names are like a low rumble. They call each other with that low rumble. And that's actually very smart because if you know how audio works, that low rumble travels great distances. So they can call each other from like many miles away. And elephants have their own names, and it's very smart. And I keep seeing things on elephants, and I'm like, okay, that is how they operate, kind of better than people, elephants.
That is the absolute duck's nuts. That's the best. I love that so much.
Hang on here.
You didn't have it ready.
I'll slip an extra shrimp on the barbie for you.
I should have that ready. Yeah. I was a bad host right there. It's the absolute, did you say duck's nuts?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah. The duck's nuts.
When you're saying prime example, you're thinking of a duck with its nuts hanging out.
Yeah, it means the best.
Okay.
Yeah, it means the best. The duck's nuts means that is just the best. It also means very cool. Yeah.
I'm going to use that. Now, just around town, I'm just going to start saying duck's nuts and see what kind of reaction I get. And
yeah, do it just off, unhinged, and without context.
Yeah, that'll be perfect.
It won't be weird, just lean in.
And there's a new thing I'm seeing here in this article. It's talking about Australian elephants. It says here that they say stuff you just can't understand. Like the Australian elephants just say, oh, he fell off a twig. Oh, Shahala, he nipped a pollywig. And they have this different kind of low rumble talking about polywigs, and they can't really understand the Australian elephant. So it's all circle of life.
It's all circle of life. Did you know that in Australia, there are now no more African elephants, which might seem really weird, but one, elephants aren't native to Australia. So
I
that's
was
one
thinking
thing
that, yeah.
To know. Two, Asian elephants and African elephants over time have been brought to Australia to feature in zoos.
That was my question, how they got there. They brought them to come to zoos and then they got out and were in the wild, or?
No, they're not in the wild. They're only in zoos.
Okay.
There was an African elephant, but she died.
It's like Jumbo that we talked about on the Lost show that didn't get aired.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Jumbo, but I think it was Bubbles or Buttons, but she lived out at the Western Plains Zoo in Dubbo. And she died sometime in the last couple of years.
And depending on the animal, I think I'm getting very anti-zoo. I think some animals can be in zoos because they're dumb and they don't give a crap. But I think something like an elephant, it's social and it needs lots of room to run around and it's smart. I think they should not be in zoos. The story of Jumbo, really quick, that we had in our Lost show was that before Jumbo the elephant, Jumbo wasn't a word. Like the name Jumbo, the description Jumbo came from this massive elephant that P.T. Barnum had in his circus. And he did the kind of typical thing there of kind of took care of him, but was kind of abusive to him. And Jumbo got pissed because he was in captivity and attacked. And then they got him to not attack, and they figured out it was because he was kind of horny, which elephants get to that natural state. And then Jumbo, at one point, at the end of his circus career, got hit by a train. And P.T. Barnum tried to say, oh, Jumbo is such a valiant elephant. He tried to save all of us from the train, and it was all bullshit. It's just that they kept him captive, and he ended up running in front of the train and got killed. So that is where the name Jumbo comes from. And God damn it, elephants. I want one, but not really.
I have to admit that I have done a bad thing. I've actually ridden an elephant.
It's weird, right?
And I feel bad about it. And it was an Asian elephant, and I rode it in Thailand. But I feel guilty about it. I've also pet a tiger cub, which is really bad. And I realize now with age and stuff that having done all of those things, they've been exploited, and it's really bad. And I feel guilty about it now. But at the time, it was amazing. The
thing with the tiger cub is that you don't want to do that because then they can never survive in the wild. Is that what that is, or just?
No, it's way worse than that. So they breed them, and then they keep them doped up the whole time.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah. And then, they get rid of them and stuff when they stop being cute. Or they, send them to a zoo, or they do all of this other type of thing. But it's kind of awful how they treat them.
Yeah. And it's more just for public display. And they would rationalize it by saying, well, we're helping other animals by doing this. And you can help them without doing that. And when I rode my elephant, it was part of a radio promotion. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it, whatever. And I remember getting up on this big beast, and they have very coarse hair that sticks out. And I was like, oh, okay. And it didn't feel like, hey, I like you. It didn't feel like, hey, I hate my world. The elephant just felt like, okay, this is my dumb job, and I have to do this now, and this thing's on my back, so now we're going to go and walk around. That was the energy that I got from the elephant. And looking back at what I know now, I feel bad about it, and I wouldn't have done it again, and we shouldn't be keeping them captive, I think.
Yeah, it makes me really sad. I do think that some zoos who are dedicated to conservation actually do a really good job for some of those things, especially when you think about animals that have been injured and can't return to the wild, or there have been some breeding programs that have pulled animals back from the brink of extinction. There's a lot of interesting things. It's not as black and white as I think we sometimes might feel.
Yeah, I mean, if there's no way to put them back in the wild and this is the next best thing, then that's what we have to do. I just think that doing it to do it isn't the right way to go, and that's my judgment. Have that.
Yeah, I agree. It's the exploitive nature of things, like these tourism operators that do stuff and, for example, like dancing bears and performing monkeys and that sort of stuff. Hard pass for me. Terrible, terrible, terrible.
One day the space aliens will come down and we will be their dancing monkeys. That could happen. Think about that, you sons of bitches.
Yeah, have it.
All right. So we can end the show there. Fun talk. Anything else you have?
No. I think I'm geared.
You're geared and falling off the polywig, so go with that.
I don't even know what a polywig is.
I don't either. See ya.
Bye.
Okay, you know how this goes. Like us, subscribe, tell your friends, write a nice review, engage with us. We're Total Babble on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Threads. Email is show@totalbabble.com. The Total Babble Podcast.